The Toronto International Film Festival wraps up tonight after 10 days of movies and parties. This is an interesting time for TIFF as the industry evolves to make room for projects not exclusively for the big screen. Netflix had several featured films this year. And they also teamed up with a giant of popular culture, Quincy Jones. The Netflix documentary about his life and legacy debuted at the festival, and that gave me a chance to meet the legendary musician, composer, and producer. Our conversation in a moment, but first, a little background. Appropriately called Quincy, the movie chronicles his life and the indelible impact he had on the sound of a generation across all genres.
Music was the one thing that offered me my freedom.
For 7 decades, Jones' fingerprints have been all over so many iconic recordings. From Frank Sinatra to Michael Jackson. And he's credited with making TV stars out of Oprah Winfrey and Will Smith. His influence remains too, inspiring new artists like Lady Gaga
Quincy's here.
And Kendrick Lamar.
Quincy Jones, boy.
And who could forget We Are the World, one of the fastest selling singles of all time. All right. We talked about a lot of that when I sat down with him at TIFF, beginning with growing up so far away from the world of music. I read you grew up in a rough neighborhood and rough circumstances, and I'm sure
in the 30s in Chicago.
Yeah, and I'm sure some of your friends at the time took the wrong path.
Yes, they did, and they're gone.
How did you end up in music?
Because I wanted to be a gangster too, you know.
Yeah.
Because you want to be what you see, you know. My father was an architect for the most notorious black gangsters in the history of America, the Jones Boys. And I wanted to be a gangster till I was 11, a serious gangster. Because I saw Tommy guns every day.
Wow.
Dead bodies, stogies, piles of money in back rooms, at Drexel Wine and Liquor, you know. Unbelievable, man.
So when did it change, your
It
dreams?
changed when I moved to Bremerton. And we were baby gangsters at 11 years old. And we wanted to take that place over. And we had to, you know, we believed in the experience enough to do it. We ran all the stores, steal everything in there. And we broke into the Armory, which was our recreation hall right next to an Army camp in our house. Then individually went to the separate rooms to break in the offices. And I broke in one with a piano, and I left it. And something said, "Idiot, go back in that room." And I went back in the room and went over to the piano and touched it, because I didn't realize human beings played that stuff. I heard it all my life. And it told me right then, this is what you do the rest of your life.
No lessons before you touched that piano?
No, but the next day I went back to Kuntz Junior High School and studied sousaphone, tuba, B-flat baritone, E-flat alto, French horn, trombone, to play in the marching band with the majorettes.
I was going to say, because those are tough instruments for a kid to learn.
I know, but man, I love brass, you know. That's why I like to write for bass and brass, you know.
Yeah.
Love it.
So
Love it.
I only got 10 minutes with you, so we got to cover some of the big names, right?
So shut up.
No, not at all. No, but I'm just going to make sure I get there. Frank Sinatra, did you still wear the ring that he gave you? Wow.
The rest of my life. One of the greatest guys I've ever met in my life.
I would like to have you meet a gentleman who's been doing these marvelous orchestrations for me, Mr. Quincy Jones. Like this. Cue, Mr. Quincy Jones. One of the bright young stars in the orchestrating business. Cue, go ahead.
And I think some people watching might not know the connection between you and Sinatra. Tell us.
Yeah, it
tell
was
us about
very,
that.
very powerful. One thing to me illustrates it as strongly as anything else, and that's he was married to Mia Farrow about 1.5 years. And she went to London, and so did I. She'd just done Rosemary's Baby. I was going to do Italian Job for Michael Caine, the score. And my son was born there, and so Mia notified Frank that I had a son born in London in '68 or '69. And so when I get back to Los Angeles, all this mail from the Academy, on top of it, Sinatra Enterprises. And Sinatra's letter to me said, it wasn't to me, it was to my son, Q3. I called my son QD3, because I'm junior. My father was senior. And let me welcome you to this world with a college education. And he put a bond in there to pay for my son's entire college education. And said, knowing it'll be a far better world than the one we messed up. He's got that on his wall now. That's a real friend. Because Frank was the most devoted, loving friend you could ask for. He had no gray. He'd roll over you in a Mack truck in reverse, if it were the opposite.
Yeah.
You know.
But when he was
a
devoted,
real
he was
friend,
devoted.
man. Real friend. Real friend. Always.
So let's talk about Michael Jackson. I mean, you know, all of us have Thriller. Many of us have Off the
No, it's an
Wall.
amazing experience, man, because Michael was a very, very special talent. I mean, really special in every way, in observation, influences, and dancing and singing and everything. He didn't miss a thing, you know. I remember on The Wiz, when I first met him, he knew everybody's lines, he knew their songs, he knew their dance steps, everything.
So Thriller had 7 top 10 singles, right? It dominated the charts in a way that no album ever had before.
110 albums, million albums.
When you were in the studio doing it, were there any moments where you thought to yourself, did you have any idea what impact that album was going to have?
I don't think of it like that. I think about what touches me. You know, I've never in my life ever done music for money or fame. Never, and never will. Because God walks out of the room then. And it's not sacred anymore. And it is sacred, you know. Because to me, melody is God's voice. It's clothed by lyrics, but melody is God's voice. That's the power.
But I always wonder, so when you did the playback for Billie Jean, or for any of the songs on there, was there a moment where you said to yourself, we've done something different, special
No,
here?
but that was the whole plan in the beginning, man. You go through 800 songs to get 9, that's not casual, you know.
And
That's
what
what
you
you're
did.
aiming for. My least favorite numbers are 2, 6, and 11. You've been talking about I got a top 6 record, and if you're number 2, you want to be number 1,
Yeah.
right? So,
So we know a lot about Michael Jackson, and you were just talking about him. What on those albums, Thriller for example, is you? You know, you have his music, some of his writing, some of
man,
his
but look,
influence.
we take his stuff and take it to another level. Don't stop till you get enough. It's very well known that Michael sent me a note. Could you please take off the violins in the introduction? No, it's messed up my groove. You know what that line was? Diddle 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 diddle. The identifying line on the goddamn song.
So he said, take it off.
Yeah.
And you said,
No way. You don't tell me what to do. No.
who was right?
Well, what ended up on the record? That's one of the strongest parts of the introduction. Diddle 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 diddle. Would Ben Wright.
Yeah.
Ben Wright wrote that. This was a Motown arranger.
Let's talk about We Are the World, one of the best-selling records of all time. There have been lots of other groups that have done similar songs, including here in Canada. First of all, that line, park your ego at the door, that you put up in a sign, who came up with that?
I did, but it wasn't necessary. They came in for the right reasons. They really did. They came there to give back. And that's, you know, it wasn't necessary.
We all a part of God's great big family. And the truth, you know, love is all we need. We are the world. We are the children.
Was there a lot of politics trying to figure out who would do which vocals and how to balance
and
it?
also placement, all
Yeah.
kind of stuff, yeah.
Who
And
took
I had
care
to,
of that?
Well, I had to take care of telling 46 people only 21 could sing solos.
Yeah.
That was not popular at all. I mean, they were freaking out, man.
Who did you have to say no to?
Well, I don't want to get into that. But you can imagine though. Diana Ross and her limousine and bodyguards, and Springsteen comes in a pickup truck, you know.
We are the world.
They didn't need to hear particularly goes to the door. They came for the right reason because they saw each other and they got it. You know, they really did.
Our time's up, so one last thing. What's next for you?
10 movies, 6 albums, 4 Broadway shows,
No.
two networks. We're in business with Donatella Versace with Q's Jazz Lounge and Juice Juke Joint in 25 hotels, $700 million hotels around the world. It's just unbelievable what's happening. I got a huge company in Dubai, Abu Dhabi.
So you're retired.
Better Jafar. No, I'm not retired. I've never been so busy in my life, man. I'm 85, you know.
You are an impressive man. Really nice meeting you.
You too, brother.
Thanks.
You're a movie star, man. Good God. Have you done movies?
No.
You should, man.
Anyway, that is fantastic. I really appreciate it, and I've been a
man.
huge fan of a lot of your work, so that's very cool.
Thank you,
All
bro.
right, you're on to your next interview.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
fantastic. Yeah, thank you.
Beautiful cat.
That's what we always say about you after every meeting. What a beautiful cat.
Not my idea, by the way, to leave that in. Sean, the producer, did such a fantastic job. Put that in, just for the record. I want to play a little bit of music that we heard right at the beginning of the interview. Let's just listen to this for a couple of seconds. Okay, and Rosemary, when you and I were talking earlier this evening, you surprised me, given your relative youth,
Thank you.
that you remember that from a TV
do.
show.
From a game show, right?
A
I think,
Definition,
yeah.
which was shot here in Toronto. It was also part of the Austin Powers movie. Why are we playing
Right.
it? It's because, I didn't know this until tonight, Soul Bossa Nova, written by Quincy Jones in the early 60s. I'll tell you, you look at this guy's resume, and it is astounding.
He's behind everything.